Welcome to Hero TV. I'm your host, Alex Hampton, and today I'm going to be doing a brand new series on Hero TV called my Top 10 Black Superheroes, which each week for the next 10 weeks, I will recognize one of my favorite black superheroes. So for today, I'm going to get into my first black superhero that I would like to recognize, Static Shock. Static Shock first appeared in Static Shock #1 in 1993. His main creator was Dwayne McDuffie. Now, we all know Static from the hit TV show Static Shock, which also he made a lot of other appearances in different other TV shows. But before we get into his other appearances, let's dive into his comic book origin a little bit. Virgil Hawkins was an average kid in high school who got bullied by this guy named Francis, who later on becomes Hot Streak, one of Static Shock's arch villains. Now, Static gets propositioned by one of his friends named Larry Wade, who gives him a gun and basically says, you need to solve your Francis problem by coming to this fight. Virgil comes to the gang fight, tries to tell Wade that he can't do this. He realized that the thing that he gave him was a gun. Virgil throws the gun across the water, but by the time he does that, the huge fight is being raided by the police. The police shoot this chemical gas, which basically kills a lot of those people, but they also grant about a good 10% of those people powers. In the comic books, Virgil realizes he has powers at that fight. He uses his powers to get away, and then when he comes home the next day, he realizes that he can use his powers for some good, and then therefore out, Static Shock was born. Now, Milestone Media was basically owned by DC Comics, but the thing about Milestone Media, they had their own characters like Icon and Hardware and Static, and a whole bunch of other characters as well. But since they were owned by DC Comics, they had their own separate little pocket universe versus their main universe in DC Comics. So around 1994, or I believe 1995, DC Comics basically decided to merge the two, and Static became one of the members of Titans, where we see him interacting with all the characters that you may know, like Robin, Superboy, Miss Martian, those type of characters. Now that we got his comic book origin out of the way and where he comes from comic book wise, let's talk about his appearances. Static Shock first appeared on the Kids WB network in the early 2000s. It was his own show. It had about 52 episodes and it lasted about 4 seasons. Now, the show introduced a lot of Virgil's friends and also a lot of foes that we also see in the comic books as well. People like Daisy and Frida, who were in the comic books, but he also has a best friend named Richie that basically helps him through his hero journey in the show. If you have not seen the show, I would recommend you watch it. It's on YouTube, and I'm sure it's on a whole bunch of other websites where you can watch old Cartoon Network shows. By the way, in the show, you do see appearances like from the Justice League. You see Batman, you do see Superman, you also do see Batman Beyond as well. Now, Static Shock was a part of the Tim Burton Cartoon Network universe that consists of the Justice League and Justice League Limited. If you see his other appearances, you also see Static Shock on Justice League as a younger character, and you also see him on Justice League Unlimited as a futuristic, older version of himself. So those are his appearances that he has made. Now let's talk about Static Shock's powers. Static Shock's powers is manipulating, controlling, and generating any electromagnetic energy, meaning that he can create force fields, generate huge electricity bolts, he can draw power from power lines or any form of electricity, and he can heal himself with his electricity. And also, this is really cool that I didn't really notice until I saw the show, is that his electricity can protect him from any form of mind control, which I think is really cool to have as far as his powers. He's basically like a human fuse box, and it's really cool to see him use his powers in the comic books and also in the TV show as well. Now, let's get to the final question of where is Static? What is he doing now in the current year of 2017? Well, let's get into it. After Static's show ended, we see Static appear in the New 52 run of his own comic book series called Static Shock. It only lasted about 8 comic books. It was later on canceled due to sales, and also the creative team behind the comic book really didn't get along. They all had their own version of how the characters should be portrayed. Now, during that time, though, we do see Static appear in the season 2 of Young Justice. Now, we do see Virgil getting his powers and using his powers, but his powers come away completely different than it was in the comic books and his own TV show as well. So we definitely see a different origin from Virgil and how he became Static throughout that season. Now we will see Static Shock again in the Young Justice season 3 show, so stay tuned for that. I believe that comes out next year. Now, I'm a huge fan of Static Shock. Like I stated before, I've always wanted to see a live action version of Static Shock. I've wanted to just see him in a movie. So what I decided to do, I created a 30-minute movie, which is on my YouTube channel, called Static Shock the Movie. You can check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. Now that concludes my number 1 pick out of the top 10 black superheroes. Stay tuned for next week, where you'll see my number 2 pick, which is Black Panther. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you get more updates of Hero TV, my movie reviews, my TV reviews, and also my own fan films. So please subscribe, like my channel, and also if you want to know what I'm doing on Facebook, just like my Facebook page at facebook.com/brandnewproductions. I'm Alex Hampton. Thank you so much for watching this video. You guys have a great day.